Best of r/entitled parents episode 113. Subscribe for edit videos daily. This happened a few years ago to my brother. After work every day he would go to the local coffee shop for a drink. This night he walked in and instantly had a shotgun shoved into his face. Turns out the place was in the middle of a robbery when he walked in, and there were 3 masked men with guns. One had his gun pointed at the girl at the register, probably barely 15. And the other 2 were at the doors. The guy told my brother to lay on the ground, and he smartly listened. The robbery itself went pretty smoothly, and was over pretty quickly. The guys left with all the money from the registers. The poor girl behind the register was, understandably, shaking like a leaf. In her stupor she shakily asks the next person in line, Karen, can I help you? Karen steps forward with her 2 kids in tow. She says, ugh, finally, we've been waiting here forever. Can I have a large 2 cream and 2 sprinkled donuts? The manager steps forward and says, sorry, unfortunately we're not serving anything right now. Karen was clearly annoyed. Ugh, why not? The manager looks at her like her face was green. Because we just got robbed? Karen looks at him and sighs, oh, yeah, I guess that's true. The police showed up after a bit and interviewed everyone. My brother overheard Karen talking about how bad everything was for her and how traumatized her poor kids will be. The police officers ended up giving them one of the trauma bears that they keep in their cars. She even got interviewed by the local newspaper about everything. My brother had to go to a different coffee shop, but luckily there is one on every corner here. Thank you. Next. On mobile, so sorry for any formatting issues. So this story isn't so much about an entitled parent but more so the negatives of being raised by entitled parents and being an entitled kid even though adulthood. I did post this in Entitled People as well, but I know it also fits here. This happened about 13 years ago, so it's a bit fuzzy in what was actually said, but I'll do my best. Cast EA, entitled Aunt Me, 6-year-old me GP, Grandpa M, Mom. So this happened about 13 Christmases ago at my grandparents' place. I was super into art, still am, and whenever I was at my grandparents' house I was always coloring in coloring books, but I always used my grandpa's highlighters cause that was all they had. So that Christmas my grandpa got me a big pack of Crayola markers with 30 different colors. I was so happy and excited to use them because these were good quality markers for a kid my age. Then my aunt spoke up. EA, where are my markers? Why does she get markers? She isn't even good at drawing. EA, she is a child. She loves to draw. If you want markers, go buy yourself markers. EA, I should have markers. I can actually use them. That's when my grandpa grabbed them out of my hands and gave them to EA. My grandparents had always babied EA and would always have her side, even though I was their only grandchild. My mom looked furious and stared, yelling at EA and my grandpa and trying to grab the markers from my aunt as I sat there in shock. My grandpa then went to his study and grabbed those horrible dried out markers that come with knockoff dollar store coloring books and handed them to me. GP, here, you can use these. When you come over, bring your markers from home. I accepted the markers, looking sad but still overall glad to have markers. Until I tried to use them, my mom was absolutely furious and we left shortly after, with my aunt following us to the door gloating about how she got the markers. I guess entitledness just runs in my mom's family. Thank you. Next. Let me begin by saying that over the weekend I visited over a dozen stores, and none of them had any toilet paper. So I called around and managed to find a Kroger that had a truck coming in. This morning I got up at 6 AM so I could be there when the doors opened at 7. Luckily, they had gotten toilet paper in on the truck and I was able to get 2 packs. I grabbed a few other things that had been out of stock and went to check out. As I was checking out, I get to witness this conversation in the neighboring aisle. I'm sorry, Mom, but there is a strict limit of 3 packs of toilet paper and paper towels. The cashier states, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see a sign. Karen replies, sounding apologetic. There was a sign. I need you to hand over 2 of the packs. The cashier reaches out her hand and Karen frowns. Can't you overlook it this once? I have 2 kids at home. Karen whines, and the cashier shakes her head. At this point I feel the need to state that these were not small packs, these were huge packs. I'm sorry, but this is the first time we've gotten toilet paper in 3 days. The cashier states, holding out her hands for Karen to pass her the toilet paper. "You won't let me buy toilet paper for my kids," Karen argues. "Mom, you can buy 3 of the packs. Other people have children too, and other people need toilet paper." The cashier isn't relenting. The limit shouldn't apply to parents with kids. Karen has yet to handle over a single pack of toilet paper, and although I've finished checking out, I'm lingering. "The limit applies to everyone, Mom." The cashier replies, a bit curt. "We cannot make exceptions." "Surely, you can make one exception for my kids. They're really good kids. They don't deserve to have to go without." Karen continues, and the cashier shakes her head. "Mom, there is a line. You may get 3 packs or none. Your only other options are 1 or 2 packs. I cannot and will not make an exception." The cashier adamantly states, and Karen mutters something I didn't quite hear, and hands over 2 of the packs. At this point, I was satisfied, and went to my car. As I was loading my stuff into my trunk, I saw Karen start to load her stuff into hers, and her trunk was freaking filled with toilet paper. TLDR. Cashier won't let Karen break limit for toilet paper. Thank you. Next. Hey guys, before the story starts, I'm on mobile and English is my second language, so sorry for bad English. TLDR at bottom. Anyway, on to the story. So my first job was at a McDonald's and I had a lot of fun with the people I worked with, but the only one who matters for the story is Jack. So at my McDonald's there were so many entitled people who came in, and I have a lot more stories if you would like more, if you want more. So this lady came in. She did not look like a Karen. She was like a normal mom with a kid, blue jeans, brown hair, a little pudgy but no Karen cut, and she acted so snotty like she was so much better than everyone else. She came over to me and here's how it went. "Hi mom, how can I help you today?" I asked with my great customer service voice, and I will never forget her order. "Yeah, I'll take 3 Big Macs and 2 quarter pounders." And my kid want nothing. I was shocked. That's like over 2,000 calories. I think I'm suck at math. That's when I hear this kid's stomach growl, "Mama, are you sure your son wants nothing?" "Yup, he told me when we came in." Then she glares at my shirt. "What's that on your shirt?" she asks, very snotty. I look down thinking I have ketchup on my shirt, but it's just a pin I wear. It's a pan pin. "But that's not a pan, dummy." She starts to chuckle. "No, like pansexual, like the sexuality." "Wait, you're GAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAAA I'm kind of gay. Gasp, don't touch our food fag. She then leans over the counter and slaps me. I call to Jack to call 911. He doesn't. Well, I wait. This lady is just standing there just screaming at me. Then the police show up and de-escalate the situation. They ask the lady what happens and she says this gay kid slapped me for no reason and was very aggressive to her and her son for nothing. The police then come to me and ask what happens and I told them that she slapped me for being pan and screamed at me. Then my favorite, they asked her kid what happens. He backed me up on what I said and then said that she wasn't feeding him and abused him after he came out as gay to her and the family. The Karen was arrested for assault, hate crime, child neglect and child abuse. TLDR, Karen slaps me for being gay, and goes to prison for it and abusing her gay son. Thank you. Next. I've been lurking for a bit, and the more I hear stories from my family, the more I realize I know a pretty entitled mother. Mobile warning. Sorry for any formatting errors. I also may be a little vague at times because I'm not sure if the EM in question uses Reddit. This isn't one particular encounter so much as a whole experience. I don't remember exactly how long. I think somewhere in the range of 6 months to a year. So some backstory. A family member of mine and his fiancée, along with their toddler, used to live a few states away, but they had some issues. I don't know the whole story, and no longer felt safe there, so his father offered to let them stay with him. While the toddler's mother is certainly more entitled than the father, I'll just refer to them as EM and ED, respectively, while Ed's parents will be referred to as GP and GM, as they're the grandparents. So for the time, EM and ED were staying in GP's house rent-free, and contributed little financially. ED worked most of the time, while EM was still in school. As far as I know, GP and GM paid most of the expenses. Finances aside, ED and EM contributed nothing. They never cleaned. They left messes everywhere. Essentially all they did was take care of the kid, and even then, a lot of responsibility fell on his grandparents. I'd also like to note that it wasn't that they didn't have the time to clean or help out. EM was in school only at night and was unable to drive for most of the time, so she was home all day, and the kid was in daycare. They were confronted a number of times by GP and GM about cleaning and taking proper care of their kid, but they wouldn't have any of it. There were several arguments and shouting matches, with EM calling GM every name under the sun, and constantly threatening them with things like, "If you do/don't, you'll never see your grandson again." While he didn't tend to be quite as much of an issue, he just let it happen, and would always take EM's side in arguments, regardless of what have happened. There were a number of times where ED and EM were close to being kicked out of the house, and the only reason they weren't was because GP was worried about the baby. Eventually though, his patience ran out, and he told them they had 30 days to leave. Even when they left, they barely bothered to clean anything. The place was practically trashed, to the point where GP and GM had to have other family members over to help clean up the mess the EPs left behind. I'm still amazed by how they thought everything they needed would just be handed to them, and they thought they could use their kid as a pawn to get them what they wanted. I hope that kid grows up to be better than his parents. I just tried to give a brief summary of the past year or so. If you'd like more detail or examples, let me know. Sorry if this was a bit long, thanks for letting me vent a bit. Thank you. Next. Coronavirus related one for you guys. On mobile yada yada, but honestly don't care about grammar and punctuation. I work at a BK in an outdoor mall that has a deal with a nearby biggish airport that will shuttle travelers when they are on a long layover. As the coronavirus gets more crazy, my boss, who is an awesome guy, decided he was going to buy, out of his own pocket, a super large bottle of hand sanitizer to put by the register for the customers to use and just help be a little healthier in general. This lady, I won't call her Karen because our big boss's name is Karen and she's actually awesome too, so call her what you want, comes to the counter, orders her food, and immediately starts being crazy about the outbreak. Wash your hands before you give me my change. Now wash your hands before you make my drink. Now wash your hands before you touch my tray. She eyes the sanitizer and asks if it's there for the customers. My boss says, "Yes mom, we are trying to help keep people safe." She then pulls 6 empty Germ-X bottles from her rucksack-sized coach purse and starts refilling them. I gesture to my boss and he turns around and just glares. "Boss, no mom, I did not buy that so that you can refill your bottles." Oh hell no, you said it was for the customers. Boss, yes mom, all the customers, not just you. Well I need this, my kids are going to get sick. Boss, then go buy some for them, I paid for that with my own money. I don't care, my kids have to have it. Boss then proceeded to walk over and take the bottle PFF off the counter. The entitled woman starts screaming about how her kids are going to die and it's our fault, and that she is calling corporate and suing us for putting her kids in danger. My boss then walks over, cancelled the order, gave her a refund and told her she needed to leave. She refused, so he pointed out that the security desk is right across from us, maybe 30 featuring, and that the next word out of her mouth will get them called. She storms off, never to be seen again. Anticlimactic, I know, but figured you guys might enjoy this. I wonder if entitled people become entitled zombies in the zombie apocalypse. Thank you. Next. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry I didn't write this sooner, but the last 2 stories put me in a dark place. I still cry when I think about the baby, and I still get furious about EB ruining my future because I had hurt her feelings years ago. So some backstory. After getting the letter from EB that she wanted me out of her house because I wasn't helping her, even when I had a job, I didn't give her money, but narcissists always find an excuse, I stayed for 2 more months. In those months there was always tension. We had rented the basement and I didn't know, so I had heard some noises in the kitchen and I grabbed my blade cause we've had someone broken into our house before. I was in my boxers and me and this older lady just look at each other. Just imagine seeing a pastor guy in his boxers holding a blade. That's what she saw. But we got to talking and she was a nice lady. An old boss came and invited everyone to go to Olive Garden. I said I didn't want to go, even though I was starving, because I wasn't in the mood. EB starts running her mouth and I defended myself just as aggressively. The guy pulls me aside and asks why I responded. I told him I don't care anymore. Then he asked me a question I never asked myself. Do you think your mom hates you? I thought about it and said I don't know. Some of you who've read my previous stories may be wondering why I never thought of that. Honestly, it was just so normal to me. But even though she did some foul shit and enabled the abuse for her enjoyment and satisfaction, I always loved her. Why? Because she was my mom and I didn't really know what abuse was. We'd go to Olive Garden and I tried ordering a side salad because I didn't want to spend the guy's money. I even told him that's why I ordered it. He asked me what I really wanted and not to worry about the cost. I told him what I wanted was the most expensive thing on there, steak with mashed potatoes. He said not to worry and to order it. As soon as I ordered it, I hear EB try to whisper, see, he's getting the most expensive stuff. The guy just raised his hand as to say it's okay. That shit pissed me off because this bitch was trying to make something out of nothing. At the same time, now thinking back, she was probably pissed because I was being fed. Yes, y'all, I said it. Fed. In high school I was between 130 and 135, and when I lived with my dad it probably got below that. I didn't know how to cook, and all we had were Tacitus. Imagine being a teenager and all you had to eat were little rolled up tacos. I asked TB if she could teach me and her response was, you should know already. Bitch, how? It wasn't until I was 24 when my sister-in-law mom taught me. It took 5 minutes. Anyways, onto the story. So I order and the waitress asks me a question and I made the grave mistake of answering the question with a yay. Here comes my aunt. Now my aunt isn't entitled, but from the last time I've seen her she's like EC2. 0. She butts in with it's yes. I respond with whatever nigga. At this point I should note that I never saw my aunt as an aunt but an older sister. I loved her like one and I was overprotective of her. When she went into the military I was scared and sad because I wasn't gonna see her. When she would visit while she was leave I was happy. Happy that my big sis was safe and she looked badass in her dress blues. But the military did something to her. Like I said, she became EC2. 0. So we return home and I go to my room because with everything going on I had my fill of these cunts. I saw it as you laughed at my secret and yet you wanna hate me? As time went on I saw the nice lady we rented the basement to and we got to talking. Eventually I asked if she was gonna cook and if she could teach me. Here's the cast. Nice lady equals NL, me equals who else? Me. Are you gonna cook? Can you teach me? NL. Sorry number. I just wanted to organize everything to make sure it doesn't get mixed up y'all's stuff. I'm sure your mom is gonna cook once she gets home. Me. Looking at my feet and whispering, she doesn't feed me. NL. Oh my god. Don't say that. Why would you say that? She's your mother. I tell her everything and that at times I would go days without eating and that sometimes my friends would buy me food or a girlfriend at the time would buy me food. She looked like she was about to cry. I told her it's okay and that when she does cook if she can show me. She agrees. I go back to my room and EB gets home a few hours later. I hear NL and EB talking. It's about me. I don't hear what NL said but I hear EB saying you don't know how hard it is with him. He's blah blah fucking blah. I honestly blacked out. I take a nap and go to McDonald's to eat. I was selling drugs at the time so that way I could eat. I get home with a full belly. I sit on the couch and my brother asks me if I'm gonna eat. I'm shocked. It's been years since IB made me anything. I say I'm good and that I already ate. Fast forward and I post a status on the book of faces of how me and my girl at the time almost got caught doing adult stuff. It was funny. Later that day EB starts screaming to get out of her house that I don't respect her home or her blah 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 narcissistic shit. I tell her I'll move out the next day. Then I ask her how does she know and she said my aunt told her. That we can't. Then she finally tells me how she feels about me by screaming I hate who you are. I move out the next day and stay in a trap house. There was drugs everywhere and junkies but I was happy. I stayed there for a month until this family took me in. They loved me like their son and I still see them as my family. As a matter of fact, they are my family. I kiss the mom and tell her I love her and the father is a real father figure. I stayed there for 4 months. But a month in I get a call from Edio saying he wants to see me and wants to talk. I agree and he takes me to a restaurant called Guapas. It's me, EDU, EC, edit. Hey guys, sorry this story isn't what y'all are used to but it's important for PT. 2. I'm sorry I'm not responding as much but like I said I was in a dark place. After part 2 I'll post 2 stories about my past. It'll shed a bigger light in this role of the black sheep I've been placed in. Also once I'm done with these stories I'll share them with EB. If you all want her to know how good of a mother she is, please feel free to write a message in the comments. These stories are from my point of view. I may also write some stories about my bitch ass dad. I went NC with him after I almost died and he tried to make it into a competition.